Story 1. I live in an apartment and am worried that maintenance or someone else might enter without permission. Therefore, I have one camera pointing at my front door from the inside. Story 2. I have cats and a dog. Sometimes things get broken. I do not punish them, but sometimes it is nice to know what happened. Also, it comforts me to be able to check on them when I am away. Story 3. Security is important. If someone gets in, I have evidence. The cameras came in handy while I was looking after my mother. She had fallen a couple of times, so I repositioned the cameras to monitor the living areas of my home. On the day she was taken to the hospital, never to come out, I was awoken by her at 4 a.m. because she had fallen out of bed. I went to work as usual. About an hour later, I saw her on the camera in my computer chair, the one I am in right now, unable to get out. I called my brother, who came over and helped her out of the chair. An hour later, I checked again and saw she was back in the chair, unable to get out. My brother helped her out once more. Luckily, he lives 10 minutes away. Finally, I saw her on the lounge. I tried to call her, but she couldn't get up to reach her phone. I spoke to her through the cameras, and she was slurring her words. I thought she was having a stroke. We called an ambulance, and I rushed home from work. 3 weeks later, she was gone. Those cameras gave me the ability to check on her and, I believe, helped a little in the end. Story 4. Check on the dog during the day. It also shows the landing from the first floor to the second floor, so if someone comes up the stairs, you can see their face. But mostly to check on the dog during the day. He mostly sleeps, watches his shows on television, looks out the window sometimes, and barks at things. Story 5. To verify that my roommate was entering my room to steal from me, I checked carefully. I then bought a key lock for my door. Story 6. My friend acquired them after another of her friends was murdered in her own home by a jealous ex-boyfriend. He broke into her house and waited for her there. Story 7. Watching the most likely access points with the weakest security to hopefully identify any potential intruders. The internal cameras are not specifically focused on any part of the interior. They are positioned to monitor doors and windows and angled to avoid capturing large portions of walls. This setup allows us to log on and see the kitchen and dining room. Story 8. I'm a cybersecurity enthusiast and I built them. They upload up to 30 days worth of footage to a private server I own in real time, allowing me to check the live footage wherever and whenever I want. If my Wi-Fi fails, they switch to a mobile network, and if the power fails, they have 48 hours of usage time on their batteries. Do I need this? No, but I wanted to address some common problems with commercial security camera setups and build something cool. Also, my cats do funny things sometimes, and they stop when I pull out my phone to record them. Story 9. Was dating someone with fairly serious mental health issues and was genuinely concerned they would do something and then lie about it. Interestingly, their actions calmed as soon as they knew I set up a camera to keep an eye on the dog when I was out. I also set up an internal camera in a family member's house who had dementia and was targeted by harmful individuals in their community. Story 10. I was robbed once and only got footage of the burglars outside, not actually taking anything, so I installed indoor cameras. Additionally, my cat's food bowl is in view of one of the cameras, and whenever she comes for dinner, we get a cute close-up. Story 11. I have animals, and it is nice to be able to check on them when I am away. We also had a bad situation with our house being broken into. Since then, we have installed cameras throughout the house for extra security. Story 12. 2 cameras are linked to my smart home system and pointed at the main entrances. When I leave the house, I can activate a function that triggers a recording from any movement. The recording is sent to my private web server for security purposes. If a burglar breaks in, footage is instantly uploaded, preventing deletion even if the cameras are removed. I also have 2 cameras pointed at the beds of my 3-dimensional printers so I can monitor print progress from anywhere. I use the smart home system on my phone to cut power if there are any problems before they worsen. Story 13. Security. Checking on my 90-year-old grandmother when I am out of town. Ghosts. Also, when I had an apartment, putting the fear of a lawsuit into my landlord for going into my apartment unannounced when he knew I was not home. Story 14. We have two dogs and can quickly check on them when we are away. We can see if they are messing around or if they have eaten or drank. The camera has a loudspeaker, so we can tell them to quiet down, get off the couch, or stop humping a teddy bear. Not everything is bad. The camera also captures lovely moments, such as when the two dogs cuddle each other, which is a lovely sight to see. Story 15. I do not have cameras filming inside my home, but off the top of my head. 1. Security in case of a break-in or similar incident. To see what pets or young children are doing, or adults if you live in a household without trust. Story 16. I live in a challenging neighborhood. I have exterior cameras with a 360-degree view of my house and interior cameras pointed at important areas of my home, including desks, media center, music rooms, my walk-in closet, and the garage. My exterior cameras helped identify a burglar who broke into a church down the road and stole my neighbor's truck. My interior cameras have captured some amusing moments of us playing virtual reality, and I have rewatched them many times to see where I place certain items. Story 17. I do not know, but it is absolutely insane to me that people will live stream their private time at home to be stored on some third-party server that no one knows who can access, just for the sake of watching their cat or whatever. My cameras are self-hosted, and I still would not put any inside my house. The only indoor ones are in my garage. Story 18. I have cameras outside covering the doors. If I was unable to place them in a good spot outside, I would have put them inside facing the door. I have a relative who had cameras inside facing each door, and a few facing windows. That way, if someone destroys or blinds an outside camera, they would still have working cameras facing each entrance. These cameras also have a higher risk of being targeted, so they are not overkill. I also know people who have some simply because they bought a package. One person I work with put an extra camera in front of the dog crate just for fun. Story 19. People are transmitting what happens in their homes across the internet continuously. Even worse, they are storing all the footage in some random Amazon simple storage service bucket that hopefully is not public. Story 20. For security purposes, in case a robbery occurs, it is necessary to identify which items may have been stolen during a home invasion. Story 21. I live in a house with adults on the autism spectrum who have issues with impulse control. There is a camera in the kitchen because we had a significant issue with ingredients for recipes going missing, such as an entire pack of lunch meat or a tub of whipped cream. It would always turn into a finger-pointing game where nobody would admit to it. Finally, we put a camera in the kitchen, and the issue stopped immediately. Now we use it to track who has been up all night eating, as it usually indicates they are stressed or there is an issue with their medication. For the record, they can have anything in the fridge or pantry at any time, day or night. They just literally cannot have an entire pack of pepperoni that is intended to be used to make mini pizzas this week. Story 22. I have exterior cameras but no interior cameras. I think they are a good idea for security. However, people who have cameras in their children's rooms have crossed the line for me. Story 23. I have a Furbo. My dog is a rescue that was shot and underwent amputation. Bringing her home was a little nerve-wracking because she was very suspicious, as our trainer calls it. My husband got sick a couple of weeks after bringing her home, so the house was in a little turmoil. I got the camera initially out of necessity so I could call my adult son over to help if needed when I was out. After a few times home alone, she's just fine now. I keep the camera because I like to check on her. I wouldn't replace it if it broke, but it's kind of fun to see what she's up to, usually sleeping. Story 24. I used to have one to watch my latchkey children, but they cut the cord and told me the cat had chewed it. They did not even put away the scissors. Story 25, mostly for awareness. I have a camera in my child's bedroom so I can see if she is awake or sleeping. I also have one in the room where my dogs sleep for similar reasons. I added a couple more because they are inexpensive, so I have one in my basement recreation room for when the kids are playing down there and I hear any commotion. Security is a minor reason, but honestly, I am not sure of the point. If someone breaks into my home, they can have whatever they want. There is little of value in my residence. If someone broke in for other reasons, my dogs would alert me well before I had time to open an application and start looking at the camera. Story 26. I have outdoor cameras for security and indoor cameras for pets and security. My son's biological mother is mentally unstable and follows a cult, so we installed outdoor cameras to be cautious. They have recorded a stranger walking in our backyard at 3 a.m. for no reason and a person who hit and ran our mailbox. The latter was solid evidence for the insurance claim. Indoors, we have a camera monitoring the litter boxes to ensure the cats are healthy, using them regularly, and not being possessive. We also have one facing the draft beer refrigerator. We have a 16-year-old, and there is no other way to monitor if he were to sneak a glass. He is responsible, and I don't think he would, but teenagers are unpredictable, and his friends can be irresponsible. Story 27. I have my inside cameras set up on smart power plugs that can be controlled by my alarm system. Only when I arm the house alarm do those power up. I do not want anyone spying on us while we are at home. Story 28. After the Woolsey fire in Agora and Malibu in 2018, I just wanted to know my dogs were okay. I later got an Astro, which is a mobile camera, so I can check if I turned off the oven. Astro will also detect smoke alarms going off, which is now very important to me. If I am away and someone is dog sitting, I unplug all devices including Astro. Story 29. My dog was eating food from the counter. We were trying to understand when exactly it was happening and how the dog was doing it. Story 30. We have them for security as a precaution, but also, the dogs tend to get energetic every time we leave, and it is one of my favorite things. Story 31. Kids with reactive attachment disorder. I nearly destroyed my relationship with my biological children because I have two adopted children who kept blaming my biological children for thefts and fights. They were so convincing and persistent and were always the first to tell that I eventually believed them. Then one day I didn't. I set up cameras, and behold, the adopted children were guilty of theft and discord 100% of the time it was caught on camera. They chose to lie even after knowing there was footage. This started the journey of learning about reactive attachment disorder, and thankfully my biological children are willing to go through healing with me. We took the cameras down once the reactive attachment disorder children moved out. Story 32. We were going to set up cameras when my father was alive with motion sensors so we would know if he got up and moved around while we were sleeping, as he had dementia and experienced sundowning, where he would get worse at night and try to leave or wander, but he passed before we could. Now we are considering getting cameras to keep an eye on our cats, who were my father's but are now ours. They are getting older, and we worry about them jumping on things and hurting themselves when we are not around. The idea of having cameras in case of a robbery also factors in a little bit, but it is not the main reason. Story 33. I record all entry points into my home. I also host many holiday and work parties here. If anything suspicious happens, it is on file. Story 34. I personally know of a National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing racer who had a nanny camera set up because he had hired housekeepers while he was away. Then he noticed a strange man and his wife in his house while he was away, so he set up more cameras. Yes, his wife was being unfaithful while he was away. Story 35. We have one camera inside called the poop camera. It is aimed at our litter boxes to monitor which of our 4 cats is urinating outside the boxes. It has also been helpful in identifying if one of them has irregular stool. Story 36. This may sound crazy, but it is true. We are recording what started as a closet but has expanded to much more. It has grown into a hallway, and now it is endless corridors. My husband has brought a whole expedition team into the house. I told him not to go into that hallway, but he went in. I am going to give him one more chance, and if he goes back in again, I will take the kids and leave. Story 37. My ex-wife cheated on me with a good friend of mine. Interior cameras provided the evidence. My most recent girlfriend also cheated on me. Once again, cameras saved the day. They entered the house through the side gate to avoid the exterior cameras, but did not avoid the camera in the hallway near the bedroom door. Playing the video back for them and watching the blood drain from their face as they realized their mistake was a grim satisfaction after realizing I placed my faith in the wrong person. Also, I strongly dislike cheaters. Story 38. I have them check on my cats. Most of the time, we see them sleeping in their spots. Every now and then, we see them have the zoom eyes. Story 39. 2 male cats. If we notice any straining in the litter box, we check the cameras to see how far it goes back so we have better information for the veterinarians. Both of our cats have had a very bad history with crystals. Also, if there is any diarrhea, we can check the cameras to see who it was and get a timeline for the veterinarian if needed. Story 40. 4 reasons. 1. My wife misplaces things all the time, and we use the cameras to track them down. Our children fight. It is helpful to see who started it. We have dogs, and when we are away, it is nice to check on them. In the unlikely event someone breaks into our home, it is good to have video evidence. Story 41. Dogs and liars. I caught my granddaughter stealing money from my purse and taking our movies home in her luggage. And the dogs? I just want to talk to them when I'm away. Watching the pugs cock their heads as I call their names warms my soul. Story 42. Our cat has a health condition, so we direct it towards her usual resting spot and use it to monitor her. Provides peace of mind. Story 43. I have both indoor cameras and outdoor cameras. Our home was broken into a few years ago, and we were able to identify everything that was taken, who took it, and where they went. The person who broke in ended up being one of our neighbors. We recovered nearly everything, and it was an easy job for the police. I will always have indoor and outdoor cameras again. They saved us a lot of money and time. Story 44. The cameras inside are used when we are not home to monitor the pets and help determine which one had an accident. Story 45. I got it for the dogs. The dogs sit on the couch when I am not home, which is near both the front door and patio door. The camera points in that direction and also has a speaker I can talk through. I can set up motion alerts or sound alerts so I can check and start recording if something is happening. I primarily work from home, so it is more for peace of mind when I am not there. My dogs do get agitated when an emergency vehicle siren goes off nearby, so I can check and tell them to calm down through the camera. It also comes in handy if you need to track something in a place you cannot normally see or get to by logging into the app and taking a screenshot. Story 46. Got cameras all over the interior and exterior. My husband set them up so the footage doesn't go to cloud storage, but I can still access it worldwide. Reasons. We travel a lot, and I can keep track of my cat when we're gone. Our garage was broken into a few weeks ago, and we recovered everything thanks to the 4K footage showing the perpetrator's face as he was stealing a firearm. Footage of parties, although the ceiling angle isn't great for those. Also, lasers, smoke machines, and night vision do not mix well for content quality. During hurricane season, the cameras provide a good estimate of when it's safe and convenient to return home, including power, internet, and road conditions. Very useful when you leave your keys or wallet somewhere and need to backtrack your steps. Occasionally helpful when something makes a noise and I want to investigate. Usually my cat dropping stuff. Helpful for settling, I told you X, no you didn't arguments. My husband sometimes leaves gifts for me and watches me unpack them. Identify streaming music tracks. Useful for home insurance like a car dash camera. Caught an air conditioning vendor damaging our wooden stairs once, and they ended up paying for repairs after initially denying responsibility. I can create time-lapse videos of my plants growing. I can create time-lapse videos of my sleep. I can create time-lapse videos of sun movement, which is fun once. Once when our cat got sick with vomiting and weakness, we took her to a veterinary hospital where they offered a $15,000 diagnosis with one overnight stay. We decided to get a second opinion first. Someone told me to check the footage. I saw she was biting one of our herb plants in the kitchen. I moved the pot, and the cat got better in 24 hours. Overall, very happy with our cameras. Story 47. We have one camera inside the garage for security. We have a few more cameras inside pointed towards where the cats hang out. We disable the cat cameras when we are at home, but when we are on vacation, it is nice to see that they are alive. They are difficult and hide when the pet sitter comes. They do not hide under the bed. They wedge themselves up under dressers. Story 48. When we had pet rats, we used a rat camera to watch the rat cage. It was also useful if they were fighting, so we could see who was instigating and scold them by name through the microphone. I just realized we also have a camera outside specifically to watch squirrels. 2/3 of our cameras are rodent viewing related. We plan to get a dog in the future and will probably have a camera to watch or interact when we are gone for the day. However, since we both work from home, it is rare that we leave, so we do not need to keep it on all the time, only when we leave. I do not like being filmed, so I avoid having cameras aimed at common areas. If we are out of town, we keep a camera inside aimed at the front door to have peace of mind that no one has entered the apartment. Story 49. Originally, the cameras were just in the window looking at my car on the street. Then I had roommates, and they would have some strange guests over. At one point, one roommate turned out to be a drug user, and it got ugly when it came time to kick him out. To give you an idea of what led to the cameras being put up inside, someone urinated in my sock drawer. Story 50. So I can check if I actually locked the door or if I am going back home in the middle of my workday again. Story 51. Because I have had items stolen before in the middle of the night, I want to be able to see what happened. Also, a woman came in a bra and sweatpants and danced around my car, trying to see if it was unlocked. So cameras are useful to have, and dash cameras are also good for the car. Story 52. In my children's rooms, I check on them like a baby monitor and intercom system due to the unusual house layout. They are 1, 3, and 5 years old, and one has special needs. Story 53. I have one pointed at an area of our basement that floods occasionally. Another is in the entryway where there is also a smoke and carbon monoxide detector. The camera can detect and send an alert if either one goes off. I don't really worry about intruders, but I like having a heads up on potential emergencies when we're away from home. It is also a bonus when it captures funny things my toddler says. Story 54. I have cameras in my loft. This helps me check if storms are adversely affecting my house, detect a rodent and their entry point, which I have since sealed. I can be sure they have not returned because I literally have footage. The cameras also keep an eye on things like wasps to make sure they are not building a nest. I also have a camera in my kitchen because it is my kitchen. I am not doing anything private there. It is very useful to see if I left anything on, such as if I have a panic from work, to check if it is safe to turn my slow cooker on remotely, to see if a pot is boiling over while I go to the bathroom, and to monitor if my fire alarm or water leak detector goes off as the camera looks over the washer, dryer, and sink. This camera also detected the same rodent, which triggered the installation of the other cameras. 2 years on, I have not seen anything on the cameras. The first time something was detected, I knew where the rodents had come from and gone back to, sealed it completely, and put them and any of their friends off immediately. It is a closed system. If anyone wanted to hack into my home network, cross the boundary into the secure closed-circuit television network, and watch my camera 24/7 to see me get some milk out of my fridge at 2 a.m., I would pity them, to be honest. When I lie in bed at night and hear something clatter in the kitchen, I live alone and have no pets. I have a range of door sensors, so it is almost impossible to get anywhere without an alert to my phone. I also have internal cameras to let me know it was fine. It was just the baking tray falling over. Once, on a windy night at 3 a.m., a door inside my house blew open and knocked out of the latch. I heard it opening. I do not need to do more than roll over and click one button on my phone to see the camera and prepare for whatever it might be. I do not have cameras in any sensitive areas such as the bathroom, living room, or bedroom, but I have them everywhere else. Story 55. Not the interior of the house, but I have one in the garage. This is so that when I am a couple of miles down the road and suddenly think, did I close the garage door? I can stop and check rather than having to go back. Story 56. We have a few cameras covering entrances and the mailroom and utility room. We travel a lot and typically only turn on the inside cameras while we are away. Story 57. We installed a couple of cameras after one of our dogs developed severe separation anxiety suddenly. We use the cameras to monitor her while we are away. We are trying different methods to help her, and this makes it easier to determine what works and what does not. It also gives us peace of mind when we can check on them. Story 58. I had outdoor cameras, and they caught someone breaking into my neighbor's work van. About $10,000 worth of tools were stolen. The police did not take it seriously. They took a copy of my video and said they would add it to their report, but there was not much else they could do, even with the video. Get cameras if you want to see if something is happening, but using them for security is somewhat ineffective. Story 59. We got a camera when we had a frog that kept getting out of its cage. The cat was batting the cage lid and that opened it a little bit. We left the camera on since we have a 14-year-old boy who is convinced he has found his soulmate. She is great and maybe it will be forever. At any rate, they can have alone time on the couch with the camera there. We do not watch it except to occasionally see that everyone's clothes are on, and it serves as backup in case there are any accusations. Story 60. I have an alarm system, but occasionally it triggers a false alarm because of our dog. The indoor cameras allow me to see if anyone is actually inside the house before I cancel the alarm call. Story 61. I have had cameras since 2015. Back then, I used Foscom. This was before there were apps or notification alerts. I had it set up to send me an email anytime there was activity. I had one camera sitting on an end table pointing towards my front door. I came home from work and thought it was odd that I left my back gate open. I went around back and saw my window broken. The first thing I did was go inside, check my emails, and saw the man looking in my front window at 11 a.m. and leaving around noon. He was in my house for an hour, going through all my drawers and closets looking for cash and gold. The police came, they wanted to investigate. I showed them a clear picture of the perpetrator. The police circulated the photo, and he was found quickly. Today, it is easier to have multiple cameras inside and outside. If anyone is wondering why I did not see the emails originally, I would get so many alerts from my cats or child walking around that I filtered them into an alert email folder. Story 62. I have considered getting one so I can know if the apartment is on fire while I am not there. I have difficulty checking things before leaving due to anxiety. Story 63. To check on my elderly chihuahuas while I am at work or on vacation. I can also set alerts to know when my neighbor has been over to feed them. Story 64. My kids used to fight a lot, and my teenager was not always the nicest to the younger children. Having cameras allowed me to determine the truth beyond the claim. I didn't hit them. I had some cheap AliExpress pan-tilt zoom cameras in the kitchen and the living room. Story 65. I already pay for Ring for outdoor cameras and doorbell camera. I got a deal for $25 for an indoor camera. I travel a lot, so it is useful for that or when I want to check on my dog. I have several older family members who have them set up to watch for issues. They also have two-way chats if needed. Story 66. Dogs. We have two elderly dogs. They are fine on their own for most of 6 hours, but it is comforting to check on them from time to time when we are out of the house. Our cameras can be turned off, which we do when we are home. Story 67. I have a camera that is supposed to turn on when someone opens the door and sets off my alarm. It has a privacy mode that causes it to physically look down, pointing its lenses toward the floor, which makes me feel more comfortable having it in my home. I know someone else who has cameras in his house, and he uses them to check on his mischievous dog when he is not home. I sometimes use mine to watch my mischievous robot vacuum. To mimic my presence when no one is home, I might remotely turn on my television and flip through channels, play music, and use the camera to make sure everything works as it should. Story 68. My children were in the habit of leaving dirty dishes in the sink and used pots and pans on the stove, then blaming each other. I got really tired of that quickly. A camera in the kitchen fixed the problem fast. Nothing was worse to them than being called out on a lie. Story 69. I had to choose between placing my camera outside or inside. I work long hours and miss my cats, so I chose inside. I just want to see them. Story 70. Dogs, in case someone makes it past the perimeter. Cameras are not in any bedrooms, and I am not watching the cameras when guests or dog sitters are over. Story 71. We have one, but it does not record anything. It is nice to be able to check on my dogs when I am out for a longer period than usual. Story 72. We have cameras because of my mother. She has dementia, and the cameras give her independence so she can be left alone. The cameras have audio as well. We also have animals that do silly things. Story 73. Just one pointed at the dog crate in case we need to leave him crated. We can tune in and calm him down over the speaker if needed. Story 74. It turns on if the door is open when I am not home. My downstairs neighbor likes to report water leaks if she thinks I am making too much noise. She usually does this when I am asleep or not home. I have to document the absence of water leaks for my harassment case. She even complains that my air conditioning units are too loud. Story 75. To see what is happening when we are not home. They do not record when someone is home, only when everyone is away. Story 76. My Siberian Huskies do extraordinary things when I am not home. It is very entertaining to observe their playful behavior. Story 77. Security when I am away working or traveling. They have motion sensors that alert my phone. It also allows me to check on my cats and dog at any time when I am away. Story 78. I have a dog that, for a while, regularly had seizures. It is nice to check on him throughout the day. I also have a camera in my garage pointed directly at the beer refrigerator. I have a 15-year-old son. That explains itself. Story 79. I tried once to put out a large candle with water. The flame was intense, and my reaction was one of pure shock. When I tell this story, I pause and say, "You most likely think I'm overreacting. Check this out." Then I show a saved clip from my living room security camera. People's reactions are always priceless. Story 80. One camera is in the kitchen with visibility of the induction hob because my wife has left it on more than once. Cameras are in the lounge, bedrooms, and my office and are only physically plugged in when we are going on holiday. Story 81. One sensor is pointed at the front door so I can double-check it is locked anytime I panic that I did not. A bonus of a small apartment is it also monitors the stove so I can make sure the knobs are all turned off. Story 82. The child's behavior kept becoming stranger. We installed cameras in the common areas of the house to document his behavior. It was discovered that he had undiagnosed bipolar disorder and an eating disorder. The cameras confirmed that our concerns were valid. We kept the cameras because we realized that his younger brother was dishonest and responsible for most of the conflicts between the children. His siblings felt better because situations no longer became, he said, she said. Story 83. I have a landlord who used to just come into my apartment. After an argument, I decided to put a camera looking across the room at the entry. Now he does not come to fix anything. He barely did before, but oh well. Story 84. I want to see what my dog is doing when I am not there and make sure a dangerous person did not make that creepy sound. Story 85. I would assume it is so they can see video footage of the interiors of their homes, but then again, I am no rocket scientist. Story 86. I originally got my cameras to keep an eye on my elderly dog while I was at work. She was having issues with her back legs and would sometimes get stuck in a position where she could not get up. My solution was to limit where she could go in the house to the areas she favored. I placed the cameras in those locations. After she passed, I repositioned them to monitor my front and back doors from the inside, as well as the room where I keep my computer equipment. I probably would not have them if I had not originally gotten them for her. Story 87. Basement utility room. So I can check on things when I am away from home. It also has a view of the washer and dryer in case I want to see if a load is done. Story 88. We have them for the dogs and cats too. It actually caught a fight the dogs had one time. I came home and there was blood everywhere on the dogs, splattered on the walls and so on. I was very glad I had the footage. Story 89. I want to have 1 or 2 cameras pointed at my cat's favorite lounging spots so I can check on him during long days. It is not unusual for me to be gone 12 hours a day, and I miss him. It could also serve as security since his lounging spots are near access points, but mostly I want to check on him and make sure he is not getting into trouble while I am away. Story 90. I have 1 camera pointed at my front door as part of my security system. It only records when it senses motion or another sensor is triggered, but I can also check it remotely. I also have a Nest Hub with a camera in my kitchen that I almost never turn on, but I have used in the past to monitor proofing bread dough. I tried using it as an additional security camera, but it would randomly disconnect or send me false motion alerts, such as the clock on the stove setting it off. Story 91. I have one in a hallway facing the doors of my teenagers' rooms. It is not so much to spy on them as it is to see that they are getting up for school when I check on them. 1 to 2 days per week, my wife leaves before they do for work, so I like to see signs of life. Once they emerge from their rooms, they have no issues handling everything else necessary to get out the door for school. Story 92. I am an only child, and my mother is an elderly widow. We live very far apart. She can take care of herself well enough, but I worry about her. I have cameras to help me keep an eye on her. Story 93. I have a few cameras in the house to keep an eye on our dog, to detect intruders, to double-check that I have turned off lights when I am away. I can turn lights on and off remotely. Story 94. We have my 2 autistic siblings at home who regularly do foolish things and get themselves into trouble. Then there is my severely disabled mother who can't take care of herself while we are not there, and no one would notice until much later. My father is paranoid. First and foremost, we upgraded the entire home to a smart home, so my mother can call each room via Alexa. This way, she does not have to yell across the house. We also installed cameras for general security and in case someone gets seriously hurt and cannot reach anyone. My siblings always had a camera in their room because they used to climb on all the furniture at night and create major problems. Now they only have an Alexa device that my parents check in through. I am the camera if they do not stop bickering by midnight. Story 95. One of my children has significant additional needs. I have a camera in her bedroom so I can check on her during the night to make sure she has not fallen out of bed or kicked off the blankets without actually having to go into her room. She is a light sleeper, so opening the door and walking in can be enough to wake her, and it is nearly impossible to get her back to sleep. That camera is on all the time. I have another camera in my kitchen, one in the sitting room and one in the hallway, but they are only active when we are out of the house. These cameras cover the entry points to the house. The kitchen has a back door off the utility room and patio doors at the side. The hallway has the front door, and one of the sitting rooms has a large bay window, so the camera also provides a good view of the garden outside. Story 96. I had a child who would accuse everyone and anyone of sexual assault. Therefore, I used a camera to verify that we were never in private rooms together and had footage of us in common areas. Story 97. I used to have a camera in the basement where the children would play and fight. I got tired of the arguments going on. They actually got along better when they realized they were being watched. Story 98. I have one that is just a puppy camera for where my dogs like to hang out when I am not there. Why? Because they are cute. Story 99. I have an adult child with special needs, and I use the cameras to monitor the house when items go missing or are broken, as well as a deterrent. Story 100. Only on my third-dimensional printer and on my cat's food and water dishes so we can see them when we are away from home. Story 101. My husband and I recently got a Wise camera because we temporarily lived in an apartment and wanted to keep an eye on our 2 dogs. Now we have it in the main living space of our house. We only turn it on when we are gone, so while we are home, it is fully off and not facing anyone. It provides a good peace of mind since it comes with 2-way audio, and we can talk to our dogs when needed. Story 102. I have cameras in all my main areas and in my 4-year-old's room. I agree with many others. Cloud-based do-it-yourself camera systems offered by any security system provider are a huge no-no. You must control your own footage. Living room, kitchen, playroom, office, and kids' room are all covered. I also have the front yard, garage, and backyard monitored. I have a control system that allows me to display any single camera or a 2x2 grid of cameras on any television in the house. My wife can work in her office with the interior 2x2 cameras on the TV and keep an eye on our child. I have lost count of how many times it has been helpful to rewind the footage to figure out what the dog did, how the child hurt herself, moments that made us laugh, and, of course, occasional fails that need to be recorded for posterity. Story 103. I have one facing the door where you enter from the garage, but I never leave it on. I can turn it on with my phone and check on my dog since it is her favorite spot to lie. Story 104. In my apartment, my door has randomly been unlocked before, or strangers have come knocking, insisting they know someone inside. This is why I take precautions. I also have a security device pointed at my sliding glass door because, Although I do not live on the bottom floor, it is not too hard to reach if someone wants to get in. Story 105. My wife is disabled. She can still get around, but she has trouble sometimes. If I am going out of town for work, I usually turn on 2 cameras in the 2 areas she is most often in so I can check in from my phone and make sure she is okay. If she falls, she will have trouble getting back up by herself. Story 106. I miss my dogs during the day a lot. I do not have cameras, but we just got fiber internet, so I am considering getting some. Story 107. Dog and kids. For when I am home or away. I work from home, and I am in meetings or on camera a lot. Sometimes, I want to see what my kids are doing if I hear a scream or if something broke and no one knows why. When I am gone, I like to see what my dog is doing or if my dog sitter came. Also, I live in an area with hurricanes and we usually leave, so I like to be able to see if anything is going on in the house until we lose power. I only have cameras in main living areas, so no bedrooms or anywhere private. Story 108. We used to have one that covered a common area of our home because we had a foster child who really struggled at nighttime and was uncomfortable waking us up. Even though we told them that waking us up was our preference, they would get up and wander the house. Instead of them suffering alone, we wanted to ensure one of us adults could get up and keep them company or see if they needed someone to talk to. They appreciated it, and it allowed them to get help without having to ask for it. Asking for help was very triggering for them, as it had often led to negative consequences in previous homes. Story 109. Because my partner's family stores some ingredients and equipment in our house for their bakery, and employees have come many times without notice to pick up fruit and other ingredients, we noticed a package of peaches went missing. Therefore, we installed a security camera. Story 110. Because of children, we sometimes have people in our house while away, and we have not built universal trust with them yet. We record directly to a network video recorder in our house with no cloud services, which makes a big difference for our level of comfort. Story 111. When I leave for an extended period, I keep a camera on my cat's food. There is always enough and someone comes to check. That way, if the food gets too low, I can call someone. Story 112. Throwing out another reason for the cameras. Obsessive-compulsive disorder and anxiety. It is nice knowing you did not forget to lock the door or leave the stove on. Story 113. Recently, we were going to be out of town. We needed to make sure the correct cats were getting to the right automatic cat feeders. One of the cats is not food motivated, so we needed to ensure he was reaching the feeder each day. Some affordable cameras connected to an open-source network video recorder called Frigate allowed us to monitor them. It worked great. Also, we own the footage locally, and no one else can access it. Story 114. To watch the dogs. I have video evidence of my dog falling off the couch in his sleep and pretending everything was fine. Yeah, I wanted to sleep on the floor. Here is good. Story 115. We have cameras that do not record, only provide real-time video. If you are away and an alarm or alert goes off, you can check the video. If you are in bed and think you forgot to turn off a light or close a door, or a family member suddenly starts dancing hilariously, you get the idea. Story 116. We have a toddler, 2 elderly individuals at high risk of falling, and 2 dogs. I would say it is for safety, but at this point, it is just to record the incidents. Story 117. I have 1 camera inside, and it is in my kitchen pointing at my air fryer because I am lazy and cannot hear it beep from my bedroom or office. I check it to see if my food is done. If a hacker gets into the feed, they better not steal my nuggets. Story 118. I installed them about a year after we moved in, only on the main level, mostly to cover the plausible entrances. This was for security in case of a break-in, so there would be evidence for prosecution, and because we had to hire a nanny for my 2 very young girls. Even though I eventually came to trust the person caring for my daughters, I needed peace of mind in case anything happened that the girls could not explain in a way I could understand. They were 2 and 4 years old at the time. Even though I rarely check the recordings, it is clear they are an effective visible deterrent. An acquaintance, an older man in his mid-60s who seemed sketchy, came over once. When he saw the cameras, he started asking many questions about them. I was vague, as I normally am because I do not like drawing attention to it, and I did not like this man. He never came back after that. Later, I learned he had molested one of his stepchildren, and I often think that if he had not seen the cameras, he might have been tempted to do something to my family. Story 119. Pets. It's helpful to know what happened, or in one case, which dog ate the chocolate. Security and insurance. If my home is burglarized, intruders notice the cameras and leave more quickly than they otherwise would. I have evidence for the police and for insurance claims. I have had my garage burglarized before. While the video did not lead to police action, it made it easy for me to identify each stolen item and get my home insurance to cover it. I have so much equipment in my garage that without the video, I would not have been able to figure out everything that was stolen. Small items like pairs of pliers, hammers, and old circular saws used only for cutting concrete all add up when making an insurance claim for the larger losses. But mostly, I use cameras for pets. I also have a camera in the basement facing the litter box to monitor when my deaf-blind cat last urinated. Sometimes she goes on her own, but mostly I carry her there and place her in the box so she does not give up and urinate on the floor near the litter box. Story 120. I have a camera with a physical shutter that makes a noise when it opens. I like having a camera downstairs in case my alarm goes off while I am at work or I hear a noise at night. Story 121. Some people live in neighborhoods that have high crime rates and need cameras around their houses. Some areas might have high property theft. Story 122. My son and daughter-in-law had one for the dog. Their first dog got caught eating some snacks from the pantry that were for her teeth. She kept going in, and my son saw it while he was working. They forgot to close the door. She then vomited, and he rushed home on his lunch break to care for her because she went back in for more. After she passed away, about a year later from another issue, they did the same for their new dog, a young rescue. They can check on him, but he usually just stays calm. Story 123. Started as a way to check on the children during COVID-19 while doing homeschooling at home. Then it became very useful to keep an eye on the dogs. That is all it is used for nowadays. Story 124. We did not used to, until we moved and our new landlord suddenly decided to sell the flat, conveniently informing us a week after we moved in. They were sending selling agents and buyers through the flat twice a week. On one visit, they broke 2 sets of blinds and moved a bunch of our belongings without asking. When we told the landlord about it, she said the agents denied it, so we must have caused the damage. We were furious. She was already putting us in a seriously precarious situation, and then she was gaslighting us and threatening to fine us for repairs. We bought and installed cameras in every room except the bathroom, although we never ended up needing them. We found somewhere else, broke our lease at great cost, using almost all our savings, and moved out. We still have the cameras, but we keep only one up to check on our pets when we are away for the day. They were not cheap, but I am glad we have them if we need them. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.